Welcome to part 2. Now, many of you may be wondering in part 1 why I dwelt so much on the emotions of William Ruto. Yeah, you may have asked yourself, what's going on, Chris? You're analyzing emotions instead of analyzing politics. Okay, you're analyzing human nature instead of analyzing politics. Yeah, you've got it wrong. I know that's what some of you said. Now. Politics is human nature. Politics is human emotions. You cannot separate those. Yeah. Now let me just prove to that to you in great detail. Okay. Now older listeners of this channel know who taught me politics. Yeah, it was my late dad. Okay, and this is important because in the basics of politics. Yeah. And it's very interesting because I learned those basics of politics courtesy of my old man. Yeah. From a play by Julius Caesar, a play by William Shakespeare called Julius Caesar. Now don't worry, I'm really going to simplify this. And indeed, let's start with a point of confusion for a lot of people, because I realize not all of us are literature majors, yeah? Yeah, so let's break it down, standard 2 stuff. Let's make it very simple, okay? Now, Shakespeare wrote a play called Julius Caesar. Yeah, and it was like a political commentary, yes, because it was based on actual events. Yeah, because Julius Caesar was actually murdered, yeah, on 15th March 44 BC. Yeah, and it was the result of a conspiracy by Roman senators. Yeah, you know, Rome was a democracy. Yeah, and it was run mostly by senators. Yeah, so this was a conspiracy by many senators, led by Gaius Kshs Longinus, Decimus Junius Brutus, and Marcus Junius Brutus. Okay, now what these guys did is that they stabbed Julius Caesar to death, yeah, at a location adjacent to the theater of Pompey, yeah, in Rome. So it actually happened. Okay, now why did they kill Caesar? The long and short of it is that the murder, the political assassination, like all other political assassinations since the beginning of time, was in the fight for political power. It's as simple as that. Now, what this genius of a playwright William Shakespeare did, yeah, was to break it down for us politically. Yeah, he brought out the emotions, he brought out the politics, he brought out everything. Yeah, and therefore I still recommend, yes, that anybody who wants to understand politics deeply, yeah, which is important, because a lot of events are happening in our country, a lot of events are going to happen in our country in the future, and you cannot always trust those who analyze it for you. Yeah, it's a good idea you analyze it yourself. So for you to analyze politics, you have to understand the basics, and there's no better place to learn the basics than from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Now, courtesy of the web, this is very easy to do because the Shakespearean complicated English is simplified for you online. Everything is explained to you online. It's very easy, and I think it's a fascinating tale. Actually, the crux of the matter, you know, the reason why Caesar was killed was very simple. Caesar was about to become a benevolent dictator. Sound familiar? Of course it does. Yeah, so Caesar was about to become a benevolent despot, okay, and the people really loved Caesar, okay, and but the Senate said, you know, most in the Senate was saying, a benevolent dictator is still a dictator. Yeah, so they're asking themselves, what happens to the Senate after that? What happens to the power we've been wielding? Yeah, it vanishes overnight. Yeah, and you know, they had cherished the democracy of Rome for a long time. So the conspirators, who do they approach? They approach somebody very close to Julius Caesar, yeah, and they convince him, yeah, that actually democracy is important. I'm telling you, folks, politics never changes. Okay, so they approach him and they tell him that you know, democracy is very important for Rome. Yeah, we cannot let democracy go just like that. And I know, Bona Brutus, you really love Caesar, but you should love your country more. Yeah, Rome is bigger than you and me. Yeah. Now Shakespeare captures it perfectly because it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, but finally Brutus anaingia box. Now this is a very fascinating tale And I keep on asking myself if the situation in Kenya may very well end up like this. Yeah. What happens in the end of this tale is that they invite a loyal, very close friend of, or rather they allow a loyal, very close friend of Caesar to give the eulogy at Caesar's funeral. And the name of that man is Mark Antony. And to cut a long story short, after Mark Antony's speech, yeah, the crowd, the people go crazy, yeah, and Brutus has to run away, yeah, and the plans of the people who conspired against Julius Caesar are scuttled. In short, the people finally have their way, yeah, because Mark Antony had the numbers. Or rather, Julius Caesar had the numbers, yeah. Back to William Ruto, okay? Now, just a brief thing I'd like to add. I told you politics is human nature, politics is human emotion. I'd like to add another word, yeah? Politics is betrayal. And this comes out very, very clearly in Julius Caesar, yeah, the play by William Shakespeare. But even now in the local scene, the atmosphere, the current environment, makes the Jubilee High Command very, very vulnerable to betrayal. That is the truth. Now, for DP Ruto to betray the Jubilee High Command is not hard, because the truth is, as we have seen in the earlier episode, the High Command betrayed William Ruto. Yes, the presidency belonged to him. He's the one who created it. Yes, although he was only the deputy president. Yes, and somebody along the way betrayed him. Okay, so if he betrays, it will just be tit for tat. Yeah, and this is what is looking increasingly possible and increasingly likely. Yeah, and we end up again at that place where we always end up asking ourselves, what are Jubilee thinking? Okay, you have a government, yeah, the government is hanging by a, by a very thin thread, yes, and then you go around upsetting the apple cart, yeah, you go around chokozering things, yeah, because surely as you get closer to Gideon Moi, whatever your plan is, you're infuriating DP William Ruto, a key ally in this coalition that is a Jubilee party. And the way things look currently, it's only a matter of time before DP Ruto and the supporters say enough is enough. And that is why the naming of the new cabinet is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, there's no way that new cabinet will be able to be named. There's no way that new cabinet will be named without some sort of fallout. That is a given. Yeah, and then of course on this other side we have NASA and their plan, and NASA say their plan is on course. Wamechora hii kitu vizuri sana, and Jubilee must go home. Yeah, hey, yes, Jubilee in power, but I would not like to be in Jubilee's position right now. It is not a position anybody can envy. Yeah, it's like being injured in the desert and vultures are just circling. They're circling in the air, they're just waiting for a chance to pounce. Yeah, that is Jubilee's position right now. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep our eyes closely on this as it unfolds. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.